I'm Ari, pay attention. Because the northern border has flared up again, and the message that came out of Beirut was direct and defiant. For the first time in a long time, the president of Lebanon, Yosef Aoun, ordered the army commander to confront any Israeli incursion. Not to monitor, not to warn, but to confront. It's a statement that completely changes the tone of the conflict because it implies that the Lebanese army, not just Hezbollah, could get directly involved if Israeli operations inside their territory are repeated. And that obviously would raise the level of confrontation to another level. All of this was triggered after a nighttime operation by the Israeli army in the city of Blida in southern Lebanon. According to the CFTI, it was a limited incursion to neutralize a Hezbollah observation post. But in Beirut, they claimed that the man who was killed was a municipal employee and described the action as a flagrant violation of Lebanese sovereignty. Since then, local media have been repeating a phrase that sums up the political climate: Lebanon will not stand idly by. Minutes after the incursion, Israel launched a bombardment on Mahmoudi and Jarmak, also in the south. The Lebanese parliament reacted with fury. Navi Berri, its president, accused Israel of crossing lines that go beyond any international resolution. And while diplomats from both countries hurl accusations at each other in international forums, the situation on the ground is getting quite complicated. Israeli intelligence reports claim that Hezbollah has managed to bring in hundreds of rockets from Syria in recent months, with direct help from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. And the idea that Hezbollah is ready to enter into a direct confrontation with Israel again is really gaining traction. At the same time, the United States is pressuring Beirut to stop that trafficking. Since June, the Lebanese army has reinforced patrols on the border with Syria, but the reality is that the smuggling routes remain open. Local sources say there were emergency meetings in Beirut, the latest on October 29, to coordinate actions against arms and drug trafficking. In other words, everyone knows what's happening, but no one seems to have the strength to stop it. And behind that visible scenario, last night something even more delicate was discussed, an alleged covert operation by Mossad attributed to the Kidon unit. 2 men were neutralized, one a facilitator of arms smuggling from Syria to Hezbollah, the other a logistics liaison for the organization in the Al-Bayada area. They seem like small targets, but they are key pieces in the machinery that supports Hezbollah's military network, which is very closely monitored and supervised by Israel, who carries out these missions, right under the eyes of the Lebanese government. Meanwhile, in Israel, the message is clear: the north will not be allowed to become a second Gaza. Lebanon has also chosen to mark its territory. And when both sides swear to defend their sovereignty at any cost, what follows is not diplomacy, it's a countdown. And the truth is, the situation there on the border with Lebanon is very delicate, and now, well, it's getting worse. Several people are telling me they can't subscribe to the channel. Check to see if the same thing is happening to you and hit the bell so you'll know when I upload a new video. Alright, while the north remains on high alert, the south has flared up again, after an incident that Israel considers a direct violation of the ceasefire in Gaza. Again? Yesterday, in the Rafah area, Sergeant Major Yonah Feldenbaum, 37 years old, a heavy machinery operator from the Combat Engineering Corps, was killed. He was not, strictly speaking, a frontline combatant, but a soldier who worked on clearing and reconstruction tasks inside Gaza. His death at the hands of Hamas terrorists was interpreted by the Israeli government as a blatant violation of the ceasefire. The response was swift. It came hours later, under the command of the Southern Command and with precise information from Shin Bet and Military Intelligence Directorate. The Israeli Air Force launched a massive offensive on the Gaza Strip. Within minutes, dozens of targets were attacked, including observation posts, weapons factories, rocket and mortar launchers, and of course the usual networks of operational tunnels that come out everywhere. The strike was surgical. At least 22 Hamas commanders were neutralized, including 2 battalion chiefs, 2 deputy commanders, and 16 company commanders. Among them, several men directly linked to the October 7 massacre. In addition, a precision strike in Khan Yunis eliminated Aten Maher Musakadra, Commander Nukbar, who was responsible for the assault on Kibbutz Ein Ashlosha. Israel made it clear that it will not allow a ceasefire. It serves as a shield to rearm Hamas or target its soldiers. Were they really looking for weapons that were buried under the rubble? All of this happened under the watch of the Red Cross. Israel's offensive yesterday was both a retaliation for Falbon's death and a direct warning. If Hamas continues to violate the agreements, each violation will have an immediate and high cost. And well, while Gaza burns and northern Israel on the border with Lebanon is on shaky ground, Jerusalem experienced one of the most tense days of the year today due to an epic march and gathering from different places, which finally arrived at the capital of Los Jaderib, those who are known as the Ultra-Orthodox. The March of the Million, as it was called, was not a symbolic gesture. It literally paralyzed the entrance to the capital from all sides and left hundreds of people detained. And it ended in tragedy with the death of a 15-year-old boy who fell from a building under construction. During the protests, the police closed off access, transportation got stuck, and the city was simply blocked for hours. This is an emotional breaking point in an already tense debate due to the war. In the end, those who called for the marches ended up asking the crowd to go home, because honestly, the situation was getting out of control. Because it wasn't hundreds or thousands, honestly, this looked like 1 million people. To understand, we must present the legal framework. In June 2024, the Supreme Court ruled that in the absence of new legislation, there is no legal basis to exempt Orthodox students who go to their studies, what are known as the yeshivot. The state must enforce its own recruitment law and cannot continue funding automatic exemptions. So the government is looking for a transitional law that will gradually increase enlistment, but without breaking with its ultra-Orthodox partners who support the current government. The legal-political clash is still ongoing today, with hearings and drafts that do not convince either the opposition or the CFDI. And what has happened since the ruling? A year later, real progress has been very limited. Of 19,000 CFDI summonses by early 2017, the Supreme Court allowed only a few. By early June 2025, only 996 young people showed up at the recruitment centers, and just 232 were actually incorporated. According to the Israel Democracy Institute, the gap between the court order and the community reality is simply enormous. Meanwhile, the military personnel shortage is a heavy burden. Data presented in the summer of 2025 shows 2,940 ultra-Orthodox enlisted in 2024, far below the targets. And they estimate about 80,000 Haredim, or ultra-Orthodox between 18 and 24 years old, eligible and not enlisted, which is quite a lot. The army has also stated that it needs about 12,000 new soldiers, including 7,000 combat troops, to sustain the war effort that is being fought on multiple fronts. That being said, the picture isn't black and white. Since October, 7,000 of ultra-Orthodox have volunteered for non-combat roles, including medics, logistics, and home front command units. And there was also an increase in those who chose National Civil Service in 2024, although the numbers are still modest compared to the total population. There is a trend toward participation, but it doesn't bridge the gap in the system. Military intends to close. With that map, you can understand the two narratives that clash today. On one side is the ultra-Orthodox Haredi stance. They see studying Torah as spiritual protection for the Jewish people. They don't see the exemption as a privilege, but as a collective mission. Just as some fight with rifles, others uphold the soul of the country from the yeshiva, from the study center. The rejection of weapons is widespread within the sector. Meeting of the Fiscalia, the Prosecutor's Office of Mexico. Meeting of the Fiscalia of Mexico. Meeting of It serves as one for indigenous Laipam households that and to take advantage. And of Raphael Alves. There are more presidents who solve things in the museums. The military argument is operational. There aren't enough hands now, right? In theory. Today, those two truths were pushed to the limit. What started with a prayer, with a speech, ended with riots, arrests, and a death that no one can normalize. The photo hurts and at the same time exposes the core of the issue. The court demands that the law be enforced, the government seeks a political solution, the army needs people and an entire community. Do you feel your way of life is threatened? My take from here from Israel is that the realistic path is gradual and measured. A total perpetual exemption doesn't work because it breaks the principle of equality and the logistics of the army, especially when we're at war. Nor does a sudden change work that treats the entire sector as if it were homogeneous. There are intermediate models, of course. More Haredi Orthodox routes within the Israel Defense Forces. Technology, signal intelligence, cybernetics, healthcare, civil protection. In other words, there are different options. Higher group quotas and clear incentives. And an umbrella that allows those who are truly committed to higher education to stay there, but without turning it into a mass escape. And yes, there is also the direct route, the combat route, which has shown that service and study can coexist. Its orderly expansion is a part of this solution. Today's events leave a warning. If the issue is decided only in the streets or only in the courts, everyone loses. The war outside doesn't wait, and social unity inside shouldn't break either. I would like to know, what is your opinion? Should the Ultra-Orthodox serve mandatory service like all other Israelis? How would you balance rights and duties without breaking the social fabric? I would love to hear from you in the comments. It's important that you subscribe to the channel to keep up with what's happening here in Israel, in the region, and don't leave without giving your like. Share this video. See you.